What a damn good time!
Hello there, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and children.
Today we'll be talking about the newly released Disney Plus exclusive Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Now, if you are familiar with the cartoon back in the 90s, this is sort of a reboot to a modern day version. Now, going into this movie, I was extremely skeptical. I really didn't have any good high notes about this movie. I was not expecting really much of anything other than, this is probably going to be a disappointment. Needless to say, this movie just went beyond my expectations, and in a very long time, I have not experienced a movie where I actually had this amount of fun. Now, of course, many of you know me as a Spider-Man fan, and with Spider-Man No Way Home, that was a fun and enjoying movie, but I haven't really experienced anything since then. And of course, I've reviewed Doctor Strange, which was, that was a fun movie, but it was nothing compared to this. Now, this movie is very similar as well as almost identical to Roger Rabbit in the terms of being a detective movie, a buddy cop movie, because we are thrown in there with a little bit of a backstory for Chip and Dale back in the 90s, where Rescue Rangers were at the top of its peak, but then ultimately just, kind of went away. We kind of see a character development between them two from when they were younger, becoming friends, being, actors together and being best friends, to kind of splitting away. So this movie is basically about them coming back together and solving a mystery. Now, with this movie, too, is you would expect, a few Disney cameos as they kind of depicted in the trailer, but this goes beyond Disney. There are characters in this that make cameos that I was not expecting. Certain type of companies that I didn't know had a partnership very much similar to Roger Rabbit, to the point where when Roger Rabbit came out, a lot of people said, oh, it's never going to happen again, or Warner Brothers and Disney's kind of not going to be able to do it again. You'd be shocked to see, as far as Warner Brothers, Fox, Paramount, Sony characters, there are so many characters in a wide realm of other companies that are in this that I thoroughly, being not really diagnosed, but probably do have ADD, where I was looking in the background more so than paying attention to the story, because I was looking for specific characters. Now, not a lot of you know characters from this series, and, a little bit of a spoiler for a character that shows up, but it's Randy Marsh from South Park. Right, Randy Marsh from South Park, from Matt Stone and Trey Parker, is in this movie. He makes a brief cameo which completely took me off guard, and that's kind of what you have to expect with this movie as far as cameos and references as well, because you're watching this expecting a Disney movie, and there are all these Easter eggs, all these references, all these call-outs to the past, the present, and it's amazing. I had so much fun watching this from the very beginning to all the way at the end, just seeing not only what type of Easter eggs they have in there, but also seeing the relationship between Chip and Dale themselves and coming together and becoming friends again. Now, voices of Chip and Dale, of course, are John Mulaney and Andy Samberg. We do have another voice in there which is Seth Rogen, and I'll be honest, I haven't watched much of Seth Rogen's stuff or found it humorous that much, because it's usually the same old stuff. But this movie, there's a point close to the end where there's a Seth Rogen moment, and it just made me bust out laughing. And it's because it was a relationship between what he has with Disney and the other locations as well that just made it even more humorous, where it's that's funny that they added it to this movie. All in all, it is a very entertaining movie from beginning to end, seeing the character dynamic between the two characters, as well as seeing the storyline just progress. Again, it's very much a Roger Rabbit vibe, which, they are self-aware of that as well. So if you guys do get a chance, I would highly recommend this movie. Honestly, it's a movie that I can go back to and watch on Disney Plus over and over again, just to see what other characters I may have missed in the past. It is definitely worth to watch. Now, there are two specific scenes in there where, it kind of shocked me in a way, especially with what Disney is going with, what's happening with him as far as, a lot of people backing away from him. So I'm kind of surprised that they used two elements to it, but at the same time, it's no different than how Roger Rabbit did it in the past, as far as, being PG and getting away with some adult humor. So you kind of have to take it for a grain of salt and remember that back in the day with Roger Rabbit, they used the same jokes. Not the same jokes, but, around that realm. So that's the other thing too, is when there is adult humor, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt and understand that they're not just doing it for the kids now, but they're also doing it for the fan base from the 90s who grew up today. So again, definitely worth watching. Cinematography and, animation is amazing, specifically the animation, because there's not one specific animation in this movie. You have basic hand drawing animation, you have, of course, the animation that you see in today's movies, you see back in the early 2000s with computer generated animation, stop motion animation too. So there's a whole bunch of elements that come into this movie, and it just molds perfectly. So again, can't forget J.K. Simmons is in this movie too. A really well thought out character that he plays, and kind of, typical as well if you've seen the movie. But if you've seen the movie, let us know. What did you guys think of it? What kind of characters did you see that you were not expecting? Leave a comment below. Subscribe, because that's how you can support us. Ring the bell. Follow us on all social platforms as well as podcasts. And, click the link below to, support our little store too, because all merchandise proceeds comes to help and support us as far as podcasts go and YouTube and, bringing you guys the entertainment. So, again, thank you guys for joining us, and be on the lookout for our next review.